Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. We are here with the man that actually started Answer the Call. I don't know if you know that, Bored. I don't know if you remember this all these years ago. You literally started this podcast. We got on a Discord call and just talked about something, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this as a podcast myself. Yeah, that's what a podcast is. And I was like, I want to make this an actual thing. And I want to talk with my friends and the other content creators in the space and talk about a certain topic. I think that's what we had that one day was like, we want to talk about a specific topic. And that was like one of the things that was a very big focus of the podcast for a really long time is focus on one topic instead of a lot of the podcasts at the time were just every news, all the news from the week. And that was it. And
do I get some of the money from that you've made from this podcast then?
No, it means you're to blame. It's your fault that this podcast exists.
No.
And yeah, this is like, I mean, after the whole redacted and all that stuff that we had done, I was like, I need to figure out how to keep doing the things that I enjoyed, and that sort of inspired me. You were my inspiration. So is that good? Does that make you feel like the feel good aspects of it? Can I give you that?
Money would make me feel better, but yeah, that's good enough.
True. But yeah, so welcome to the I was about to say redacted. Welcome to the Answer the Call podcast, where we are the third week into the new year, and there has not been a single thing to talk about. So as always, we start to go into and talk with guests and things like that. But this is also a call-in podcast. We already have somebody on the line that wants to talk about something, and I'm assuming it's the topic. Is this the slowest start to a year in Star Citizen ever? And that's going to be the topic that we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, how you doing? Croncy, how you doing? You guys good?
Yeah. A little hungover, to be honest.
I think Croncy is too, because he did the Daymar rally yesterday, just not from going out or anything.
We
tired.
Commentated for like 11 hours today on the rally, which was a whole thing. So
yeah. So
all right, I'm fine. It's all good. I had like 6 hours of sleep.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
What you need.
Yeah. That's all you need, really, in reality. But yeah, I guess the next part is, how are we feeling about Star Citizen right now? And I think that's where I want to jump in with you, Bored. You've been covering the game now for, has it been a decade yet? If we're not there yet, we're damn close.
Yeah, around that. It's 9.5 to 10 years ish.
Yeah.
I'd have to dig up when I started covering the game, but it is around 2014 at some point.
Yeah. I can't remember when we started hanging out, but it was somewhere pretty close to that, 2014, 2015 as well. And then did the podcast and all that stuff. And wow. Yeah, it's I
truly don't understand
a lot of time.
How you guys haven't grown out of the game in that amount of time, based on what the game used to be.
We have
grown out of the game.
We have.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
We don't play the game. Well, Bored might. Yeah, we play the game a little bit, but I think if you look at the type of content that Bored and I have been making, it's a little bit less in the game and a little bit more about the game. That's the only way.
It's weird
to stay alive during all these years, I think.
The more I've got of Star Citizen, and they are genuinely producing that there is a game there now.
Yeah.
Over the last few years, the more that sort of the more stuff we've had, the less I've been covering it more recently, just because I'm sort of always waiting for something bigger. And obviously there's the major patches, and I play a load around every time there's a major patch or there's like a Pyro Playground or whatever, or like a major event. But I am sort of very push and pull with Star Citizen. When there's nothing going on, I play it hugely less. But once it's released, I suspect I'll be playing it, like no-lifing it, like quite genuinely. Like it is still on paper my favorite game.
Yeah. And if anybody has ever played games with Bored, he no-lifes. Like if he gets into a game, he goes hard. Like one of my most viewed clips ever is still that Conan clip, where Bored no-lifed Conan Exiles for like 50, 60 hours straight, gets to the max level, becomes a god, and destroys the base of who is it, Matauchi, who was like causing a lot of trouble for our little group.
He was
And
asking for it.
he asked for it. Yeah, he deserved it. He deserved it, and he got it for sure. The whole base was destroyed. Their game was ruined. And we had a group of like 10, 15 people. Board did it all himself. Could not keep up.
Wow. We tried to get up. We tried to get up to their base, but they literally had built it cleverly up a mountain and then knocked part of it down, so you couldn't get up. I was like, well, then I know something that can get up there. Oh God,
I'll become a god. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, for sure. I think that touches on sort of what the topic would be today, and that's like when the thing that I really stick to of what you just said is, as more of the features come out, the less I cover the game because I'm wanting more. And I feel like that's where the comments that I'm alluding to are about, like, is this the slowest start to the year ever? That's where they're coming from. It's because you have more of a game than you've had ever. And now you're you're left wanting more. Oh yeah, big time.
Comparatively, this is a really slow start because but we have a playable game. The Star Citizen's in some of its most playable state that's ever been, and they're not chucking out a dynamic event at the moment which can break the game often. Like it's in a playable state. There's a lot going on. Arena Command is actually pretty good with multi-crew stuff even, and yeah, it's just comparatively there's nothing to do because we're all expecting CIG to be in the office. We're expecting the Lunar New Year, and we're waiting until February, basically.
Yeah, I think it also is, once you start to get more of a game, the expectations are now to make it. I think for a lot of the last, like, maybe 5-6 years, like basically since 3.0, it's always been like, all right, build out the area, build out the game world, and everybody was sort of comfortable with the fact that, like, okay, there are no systems in this, like, gameplay systems in the game yet. And then last year you get cargo refactor, you get like actually making mining the way it was always intended to, and you get the salvaging, as problematic as I think salvaging has been in the last few months for the game overall. They're adding those things, and then now, at least from my perspective, and I am seeing it in comments and things like that, is I think players are expecting the game to be a bit more like the other video games they play that are actually done, or in more like proper early access where there's more features involved. And now they're like, I want something to sink my teeth into, and then they are disappointed when they're unable to do that. And I think that's a good and bad thing, right? It's a really good thing because I think we're in a good place. But
yeah, I think their sentiment a lot though comes from sort of two major factors, which is which is the end of last year was it was from October until the end of the year, it was just non-stop news and features about the game, right? It was super chock full. Last year at the beginning of the year, we had the release of 3.18, so the entirety of January was everyone on the PTU and everyone trying to, even when the patch was bad, people still trying to play the new things. The previous year, we had a rotation of, I think it was just 2 dynamic events. I think it was Ninetales Lockdown and Xeno Threat over and over again, like each day. So, and the economy was okay at that point. No one was insanely rich, so you actually kind of wanted to do it. Like, people were incentivized.
Yeah.
And this January, there's nothing. There's just actually nothing new and fresh to do at all.
Yeah, I think there was a Jump Town over the holiday break, but again, because
might have been
because of the whole like salvaging thing. I mean, you go to Jump Town, nobody was there. you know, so it was definitely a weird one. I just want to know, because I'm seeing it in the Twitch chat. How do you sign up to call in? It's very simple. !Discord in the Twitch chat, or discord.gg/SaltEMike, and you just pop into, there'll be a little green circle. You pop into the green room and you'll get sorted in to call. We'll take a couple callers today on the subject, or if you have anything you guys want to ask Bored or us, feel free.
There might have been a load of people at Jump Town. How would you know? They're all invisible.
That's true. Is that still a thing?
Yeah,
I don't think so. It's certainly not as bad as it used to be. The invisibility and people do thinking, but that does not mean it does not happen regularly. Still,
still very much exists. Something that we experienced a lot today.
Really, that sucks. That actually sucks, because for me, I still think JT is the pinnacle of the dynamic events, and the way to do it for now is hey, go here and allow players to interact with each other.
Yeah, it's got a short turnaround and short payoff, right? You just go bam, nice little closed gameplay loop.
Yep.
Go and do it.
But also maximum player interaction. Whereas Xenothreat was way more NPC versus player, and a little bit of player working together stuff, which I thought was awesome. And it's just that of the dynamic events, that is the one I enjoy the most, because you kind of never know what's going to happen. Your experience is always going to be different. You know what your experience was going to be at Xeno. You sort of knew what your experience was going to be with Ninetales. It wasn't going to work, because that was the experience with that dynamic event, unfortunately, was that it just broken and it sucked. But with JT, you just never knew. Were you going to come up to a conga line? Were you going to come up to an org that was just fully prepared? Was an A2 bomb going to drop on you? It was just always different. I thought that was very...
That was original...
multiplayer.
Original Jumptown felt like that as well, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know what you were going to get there. Whereas the current Jumptown is very much sort of like, it's combat. I don't get the queuing anymore or anything like that. It is just almost always combat.
No, because there's better ways to make money now. The queuing happened because the casual player was looking to make money in the quickest and easiest way possible, and that is done in ways that you never have to interact with anybody anymore. You could just do it all in your own little bubble, and no one will ever find you with the salvage missions, doing ERT bounties, things like that, which are, as some of you may know, are now completely nerfed on the PTU. The ERT thing, that meta is now gone. Whatever the next meta is, I assume is RMC from Pickers Field to Hurston or something like that. So cargo hauling is kind of back for a moment, possibly, as well as solo salvaging on a reclaimer. those are your two metas to make money. And again, those are very single player, not as coming together involved as JT was. Like JT was, I thought it was just perfect for a while. But yeah, I think that kind of touches in on that subject. Is this the slowest start to the year? To some extent, yes, but for reasons that are good, because the game is actually
it's the slowest start on the most feature complete Star Citizen's ever been. Right,
and it's not 3.18. We're actually able to play. We're not going, well, we're not bored, we're just unable to play during 3.18. It's like
that was I mean, that I don't think that was happening. 3.18 didn't drop until March, right? Something like that, to live when everything really fell apart. So even last year at this time, we had a live patch that was meh, and everybody was in the PTU going, oh my God, persistence. And what was happening was, I think that was hyping the game up too at the time. People were hyping themselves up for what 3.18 would be when it went live. And then it went live and the game punched everybody in the face. Because I have never seen a more hype situation for a patch than 3.18 since maybe 3.0, and I don't even think 3.0 could, from a content creator standpoint, there were more people watching me sit on a menu than I'd ever had watching me play the game. You know what I mean? So many people were interested.
The PTU patch where no one was able to log in for hours and hours. Yeah, I was sitting there streaming for maybe 7 hours and I was able to log in once for an hour. Then everyone else just cheering me on to hopefully that I can log in again.
Yeah, I never was able to get in. And that's again to get back to Bored a little bit. The style of content that you've made over these years that I think have allowed you to survive this long. I mean, outside of Super Mac Brothers, I don't think anybody has been making YouTube videos consistently for as long as you have in the game. I think people have come and gone since you. And I think in a place where you can't log into the game, you were still always able to continue to make content and provide things to the news for people that were watching. And it's something that I struggle with these days. And I always I guess I'm inspired by you that you're just able to keep going and keep doing it. And what do you think keeps you going? And obviously, I told you beforehand, the one thing that I always want to talk about when you come on the show is the comments about you being called a shill. So,
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish I was a shield. Give me money, CIG.
Exactly, right? Like, the shit drives me insane. So we'll touch on that. But what do you think has enabled you to keep going for as long as you have, and to have sort of the success that you feel like you've had throughout this time? Like, you've definitely grown. Like, you've brought on Zin and all these other things. Like, there's been a lot of changes in the last number of years, I'd say, right? To keep things going, make life a little easier.
It's still pretty rough and ready, quite quick to chuck out content though. So I like to be able to consume news daily on something, and it's comforting, right? To be able to go,
Yep.
bam. There's always something to talk about in Star Citizen. If it's not a slow news day, as it were, and there's a million features that are either going to be made or have recently been put in the game or whatever that you can talk about. And yeah, that's all I also want to do. Have a daily Star Citizen chat or rant, or look at a feature or news, and I sort of create the content that I'd want to consume.
Yeah.
And obviously I have sort of like first mover privilege backing or whatever it is. Like, I did it very early on. We've been doing this almost 10 years, right?
Yep.
So I've grown my audience from that. If I just started now, I'd have a tiny little audience, and I wouldn't be able to. I would probably quit pretty quickly from making YouTube.
Interesting.
To be honest.
I think people. I think one of the reasons why you have as much success as you do is, yes, you built your audience early, but how many people do you think have come and gone from watching your channel over all these years, right? A lot.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, like I know I see some names from the old days in my Twitch chat and in the YouTube comments, but I know that I see a lot of new names, and people come and go. And I think from the YouTube algorithm perspective, I'm sure you're doing really well in that regard from being there for so long, right? But the idea of that the audience stuck with you for that long is not everybody did, that's for sure, right? And I just think in general that the part that you said, like, I make videos that I would want to consume, I feel like that's the only way to keep going with these things. Like, I stream the way I would want to watch a stream. I make YouTube videos for the type of YouTube videos that I watch. I didn't really start reacting until I started really enjoying React content and that kind of stuff. And I definitely, when I play other games, I watch guides for those games, and then I really want to make guides for Star Citizen more and more and more. So yeah, I think that's one way of doing it. What about the shill comments? Every single I have. It's slowed down a lot in the last couple of years, thank God. But when I first started making content, one of the things that I did was I was inspired by you, and I was inspired by Noob. But I wanted to take a little bit of what I loved about what you did and a little bit of what I enjoyed about what Noob did, and put that into my news content. So quicker, like more, put everything that happened into one video instead of one video on a number of things throughout the week. Like, my goal wasn't to post every day because I didn't have the time. And but then I really wanted to, loved your style and everything. Why? But the thing is that people would come to me and say, your videos are so much better than Boards. He's such a shill, blah, 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 blah. These weird ass comments. And I'm like, guys, yeah, it's like, dude, first off, they're not. Second, everybody chooses to do things a little bit differently. And I always tried to express, like, Board is reporting on what CIG is saying. Board isn't always saying, like, the words are sound like his voice, but he's just reporting on what is happening. And
I think you're going to get that a lot more than I would. So I don't see the comments very often where people are calling me a shill and they like your content more, because
yeah,
those people are going onto your channel and going and watching
exactly.
you and going, I prefer this guy, which is
Yeah.
totally fine. Like people can consume whatever they want.
But
I
they
think
don't have to. They don't have to. The one thing that drives me insane is you are not a fan of any creator if the way you are trying to lift them up is by putting somebody else down.
but they still see it as a compliment to you.
I
They
know.
are
Yeah.
complimenting you.
It's gross though.
I feel like this is not a unique situation that we're going to get with, like, Star Citizen and stuff. Anytime there's ever any type of content where someone's talking even remotely positive about something that someone else doesn't like, of course they're going to be like, oh, well, the only reason you're doing that because you know that this is terrible is because
Yep.
you're a shill, right?
Yep.
What you should do is you should record me saying "fuck you," yeah, and then anytime someone comes on and says, "Oh, Board's videos are crap. He's a shill. Love your videos more." Just go, "Oh, Board actually had a message for you." Just play that. Boom.
Fuck you. MP4. It's true.
I like. I want people to be able to consume the sort of content they want, and yeah,
Same.
I don't mind if people don't like mine. That's cool. Not everyone's gonna like mine.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And not everyone's going to
Watch
like
both.
mine, but like sometimes it's just, I wish people would just enjoy it and lift other people up instead of put other people down. I just never understood the shill content. I think you always did what you were able to do to make the type of clips or the type of videos that you wanted to.
I am, I suppose, incentivized for Star Citizen to do well. I want it to do well because the
course.
more audience that I get, that effectively the more money I get from YouTube. But I have criticisms of. So it's basically say you don't watch my videos without saying you don't watch my videos. Is that
Yep.
I criticize the project all the time. I'm not as critical as other people because I'm pretty upbeat about Star Citizen, and I genuinely believe that they will make a great game. So with that in mind, that's where my sort of bias is when I talk about stuff. Like, oh yeah, this is crap at the moment, but this is still going on, or they'll get better, or get involved with testing because you can help fix this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think Croncy, you kind of fall into that category as well. I think you overall have a pretty optimistic take on a lot of things. Where if I was to say, I'm not convinced personally that they can make a great game because they haven't proven to me that they can make a great.
They won't pay you if you say that. They won't pay you.
Well, apparently they already do, and I've been saying it forever. But I just, they haven't put anything in the game that proves to me that they could. And in 10 years, I would have hoped that they would, and I'm still hanging around with the hope that they will. I hope they will, but they still got to prove it to me. But that would be my only difference in that case. And I think Croncy falls along the line with you a little bit of just more optimistic on things. And being a shill, yeah, of course. He was out of all of us, Board,
I was in
this
an
guy
ad.
was in a Star Citizen commercial for a ship that they sold. So who's the shill here?
I mean, actually, you, Croncy.
Yeah.
Yep. But I openly admit that, so that's okay.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's fine to be a shill as long as you're open and honest about it, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
If CIG were paying me or they did some sort of paid promotion or anything like that, just talk about it. It would be a joke. People that go, oh, he's a shill, and the fact he doesn't say he's a shill is proof. Like, what?
Yeah.
The gymnastics there.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, so the slowest start to the year with BoredGamerUK.
Such a lovely title.
Sorry, we got off. We sort of got off topic, but it was it's something I still want to talk to Board about. Board.
Yep.
But
yeah, it's good to get his perspectives on stuff, especially because Board was one of the first creators I started watching for Star Citizen, right? And I feel like there's a content. Yeah, and yeah, exactly.
The shill's got to stick together.
But yeah, I'm sure there would be a lot of people that are in the exact same boat, and so it's good to get that perspective.
True. I am going to address. I'm noticing like you guys are a bit lower now from our initial audio thing, so I'm just going to mess with your audios a little bit. Chat, let me know and make sure that we're all good here because I believe that I'm definitely louder than you guys now. Just looking at the levels. So hopefully I get it right here. But now given, I think we've addressed that it's probably a different year than we've had in terms of like pace and stuff like that. This week coming up after today, this is it. ISC should be back. SCL should be back. After Citizen, maybe.
Roadmap in a week and a half, right? Like, yeah, it's like all supposed to be happening now.
We're getting back into the swing of things, right? And the one thing that I always notice is if we don't have Jared on screen, there's nothing to talk about. You know, say what you want about Jared, but the content is what I know I like to consume personally from Star Citizen. I know it's what, Bored is making videos about, at times Croncy as well, like updates on certain things, right? Like this is what keeps this game alive. We have a server with playable game, but what keeps the conversation alive are those videos. And not just that, but we have a very interesting and exciting year coming up. How are you guys feeling about, so we had a slow 3 weeks here. How are you guys feeling about the rest of the start of the year? Because we might be having a totally different conversation 4 weeks from now, right? We might be. I'll let you go first, Bored. How are you feeling about things? And where do you think we might be 4 weeks from now?
So there's a load of genuinely cool stuff that they're trying to get in game for the first 6 months of the year, because they've been showing off all the stuff from CitizenCon. They've got things like the persistent hangars and all the cargo stuff. There is a ton of Squadron 42 sort of features that they're bringing over to the persistent universe. We're a little unsure though what's actually going to be in 3.23 for the sort of end of March patch at the moment.
Yeah, and we haven't had a roadmap update yet for it, but roadmap update this week.
Week and a half. It's on
February.
February. It's like the first week of February.
So that and we have to assume we're going to see some things there, right? It's possible.
Yeah, surely there's 323 stuff there.
So let's sort of hope. So the thing is that often CIG do we're going to give you this, we're going to have the roadmap starting again. And what they actually show is and these were some of the features that we released for the last patch that we didn't put on the roadmap. Next roadmap update, you're going to get 3.23 stuff. So
just to be clear, and this is something that I think is fairly public knowledge, the roadmap roundup is always 2 weeks behind. So if a patch comes out during that 2 weeks, you will see the this already happened roadmap roundup, and then the next one will be the next things. But this time, I guess there's the opportunity of one thing that I find really interesting is like the patches that we've had lately, the 322.a things. It's all Siege, right? But there's all these opportunities that need to happen for like other bug fixes. Replication layer testing was supposed to happen this weekend, didn't. So there's a lot of things that are not even 323, that are 322 things that might be part of that roadmap roundup. So we might end up in that in between roadmap thing. But I certainly hope it's a 323-ish roadmap. At least, I guess the roadmap roundups build as the weeks go on to that patch up until like right before it goes into Evo or whatever. So yeah.
Well, sometimes we don't even get, like, sometimes we'll have a roadmap roundup that is like literally the day before a wave one with like here's a thing, or sometimes literally we've got the third patch in wave one today, we're adding a feature and it's the same day as the roadmap roundup and it gets added at the same time. Like it's become a lot closer, I guess, to the actual releases or when we see them.
Yep. I'm actually really confident about the beginning of the year. I just genuinely think what the year is going to be is a lot of what we had towards the end of the year. I don't know what you guys are looking for and what would make you happy. So I think that would be the next question I would ask to everybody is, personally, I think the expectation is a bunch of extremely tier 0 features to be coming in. If we saw everything that came from CitizenCon, it was even more tier 0 than they showed at CitizenCon. For example, the armors, things like that. Really scuffed implementation of those. I think everything around the gunplay in Star Citizen is incredibly scuffed at the moment. Just go play Gun Rush and shoot a railgun at somebody. It is the most awful experience you could possibly have. And there's a lot of work that needs to happen. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out the recoil, all sorts of weird stuff. So things that have come over have not come over as smoothly as they may have said in especially in this past week's monthly report. But I do expect to see things to consume. And genuinely, I think that's good. I think that's a lot better than anything we've ever had. Would I like those things to be polished? Yes. Do I expect them to be? No. I like out of all the features you would like to see in the first 6 months that they've said that they're looking forward to trying to do, what would be some of them that would like your teeth would, sink into and be like, all right, yeah, this is good.
Star map. Star map. Give me
Star map. And does that include like the mini map, all that stuff? Do you include all that within it?
That would be nice. I want a functioning star map that consistently works. Oh, how nice would that be?
That would be great. Board, I will say, I have put you up to 200%, and I still have you lower than everybody else. If you can move your mic closer, that might work. That's the only thing I can think of. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
No worries.
That's much better. Anything else, Croncy? What would I guess what's the thing you'd be really looking forward to?
With the November and December monthly report mostly being like a couple of like small features and stuff, I want creatures this year, and within this first 6 months, I really, really want creatures and ways to interact with them. Like not just here as a creature,
that's
but like
what I was gonna say. I was gonna
maybe go hunt a creature, whatever it might be, like missions tied to that stuff.
Yep. I don't think you necessarily need to be able to like craft something from the hide of a space cow.
Yeah.
But I think you need to be able to see that you will be able to in the future.
Yeah.
That's what I want out of 2024, and especially the first half of 2024. I want to be able to see that the intention is there. And the end of 2023, or I guess the mid end of 2023 with mining, love it or hate it, I think some people are really unhappy with the way that it is. And I see a lot of that in my comments when I say good things about mining. Love it or hate it, it's hard to not see the intention. That was one of the only gameplay elements they've put in the game with intention. Of like, this, we're doing this to fit within crafting at some point in the future. And I was like, damn, thank God somebody's doing it, because it's hard to see that in every other aspect of the game at that point. And you kind of see it a little bit with salvaging, but not as much. I think I want to see more of that intention there with that as well. What about last year we had the pyro play test. Do we think I think do we I won't say will we see will we jump to pyro in 2024, because we would just be purely speculating and guessing and nobody would know. But do you think if we did, that would be a great part of 20? Like, I guess, given what we saw in the pyro preview, I thought it was somewhat empty, and more like Stanton with orange Stanton in a lot of ways. Obviously, there were some unique things, some very similar feelings, but it still lacked the intention that I feel. I saw some of it a little bit. I don't know where I'm going with my question, to be honest. Somebody save me. I lost my train
it was all locations. It was all locations, right? It was awesome locations, and I think they did a really good job at filling out the system.
Yes.
But yeah, there was no new other than like a couple of new missions. There was no new features in there. So I think that's what you're getting at, right? So
what do you want though? It's pyro is a location.
I think it's great. Mike's just cringe.
Well, what I think you want is purpose. So
Okay.
what you want, like what would make a successful game? And maybe this happens in 2024, maybe it doesn't. But again, you need to see the intention, and you can kind of see it with Pyro in some aspects. But what you really want is to see the enticement. Why would I want to go to Pyro? Right? And that's what I really want to see. And we got a little taste of it through data mining or through some of the earlier builds. If you looked at the list of commodities, right? There were unique commodities that weren't in any other system. What about that would draw people there? Maybe what animals or creatures would draw people there? We all know that there's PvP there, right? So that's where the purpose for a PvPer to be there is to do what they want and to finally be able to say, well, this is a PvP, free zone or whatever, right? And people, there's no argument against it at that point. I'm not a griefer. You're in Pyro. Shut up. But
I mean, you say that, and yet we had a whole discussion last year on one of the podcasts about people complaining about that very thing.
It will happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
But they won't have they won't have any ground to stand on, and we laughed at those people for the most part, right? But yeah, that's what I hope to see out of whatever the next Pyro playtest is, because I don't believe we're gonna jump from the last Pyro playtest straight into a jump point into Pyro, right? And that's the other thing. What do you guys think about or especially Bored, since I'm sure Croncy and I have talked about it quite a bit already? How do you feel about the end of the year, the Pyro or the test preview channel? How do you think it's going to be utilized this year? And I think that's one of the things that will prevent, personally, is these really slow starts and these really dead times. They just have all these options. I mean, they even tried it this week, right?
I mean, I think we're going to see Pyro play tests, replication layer tests, and server meshing tests throughout this year.
Yeah,
that sort of makes sense, right? So I do think CIG were sort of roughly planning to get Pyro in game with jump points by summer ? Also, Squadron 42 is 2 years away. No, we're always expecting stuff like that, and as you rightly said, we don't know for sure. Like it'd all be speculation at this point because of CIG's previous records on stuff.
Yes,
But
I guess the
that
question that I
replication
would ask is if you were to get something, what would be good? What would not be great? Like, what about the I keep saying Pyro test, but the test preview channel? What if they utilized it this year well? What would that look like?
See,
Building off of what we had last year, which I thought was utilized really well, actually.
yeah, I suppose it's just going to be relatively more of the same. I mean, you might see engineering or
Base building, maybe
engineering tests stuff. Maybe, like, I think if we get base building, we're going to have the most minor form of base building this year. It will be land claims, and it'll be you can build a couple of small things.
Well, define
like
get.
survey tools.
That's the crazy thing about this year now is the way we used to define get something was that it would be in a PTU and then it would go to live. Now, if we get something, the preview channel is a thing, and they don't have to behold to give you that thing anymore, right? We got Pyro, but we didn't get Pyro.
Yeah, and it can also be in such a rudimentary form as well in the tech preview. Like, it doesn't have to be anywhere near polished, right?
Yep.
But the tech preview should really be being used, in my opinion, or the way I'd expect it to be used, would be for big sort of sweeping features or something that is literally some sort of tech test. So server meshing, replication layer, Pyro jump points, maybe base building, but I think that, again, that's more traditional traditional PTU testing.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think because it's something that is going to be super rudimentary and that they might just want to gather some feedback. The thing about it is, wouldn't you flood into that preview test for something that unique, that special, that different? I know I would.
I think it's going to rub people the wrong way, the preview channel, because of its exclusivity, right? So not everyone can get in, and you do not want to annoy your ever-growing audience for Star Citizen saying, we gave you Pyro this year. Well, you gave 2% of the community Pyro. Like,
That's a really good point. The way that is a really interesting thing about that is I looked at it like everybody had an opportunity to get in, and they didn't.
Well,
yeah, that's a very good
they
point.
didn't, but have they said that it will be exclusive going forward? Like, is there any reason why they
No.
won't say, next tech preview with Pyro open to everyone, or with the replication layer test they're trying to do open to everyone sort of thing?
Almost certainly not going to do that with the first time they release it, right? So they might go, we will open it up to everyone over 2 weeks, but you've still got that exclusivity window where they'll just go like, well, we want to test the service, we want to get the right testing in, we want to stress test it slowly, and that does. I hate elitism. But I also understand that it needs to be done, right? You have to do that in that way. There is a testing procedure and order to get the data that you want and to get tested in the way that you want.
The difference is did it have to be done by buying the CitizenCon, package? No, right?
Well, but again, that
That'll
was just
give you
one
a
way of
better
getting it.
chance. Yeah.
Okay,
That was one way.
I would say there was a big disconnect from CIG's devs and CIG's marketing team. And they've obviously put a lot of money into marketing. And those people in marketing, and I'm very sorry if anyone's watching or any of them are my friends or whatever, but they're a lot more soulless than that you would get from a community manager or from a dev, right? They want to make money. What is the best way of making money in the short and long term? Bam, let's do that. Let's say you can get it. If you get a CitizenCon digital goose pack for we can sell them for 50 quid now. Sell them for $50. Some people will buy them, and then you get into Pyro playtest. Like it is the marketing. I'm not necessarily super happy with.
For people that aren't aware, the head of marketing is a mobile game executive.
Yeah,
surprise.
You can see that.
You can see it. It's all over the game now.
And there's no problem with them making money. It's just sometimes it feels a bit, a bit soulless or a bit sort of predatory. But the way they monetize the game, that is the way they need to do it to make the money to make the game.
It is what it is. It is what it is, and that's it. There's no arguments against this at any point anymore. It's gone. This is what it is. You accept it or you don't. I still have a very hard time accepting it, but you got to accept it at some point, right? But I don't know. Just to go back onto the preview channel and what I think would make this not the slowest start to the year, and I think what we should probably expand the start to the year to is the first 6 months as well at this point. Like, obviously, we've addressed the first few weeks here, but that's definitely where I'm trying to take it, at least, is to expand it to the first 6. Is they're making a lot of claims about what the first 6 months will be, and I think if they make half of those, it will be a very interesting year. But it really is going to come down to the polish of those things. We know a lot of people are coming over from Squadron 42. That would be my next question to both Bored and Croncy would be, do we see improved? Do you think we're going to see improved pace of development? Do you think we're going to see more features? If we do see more pace, do we think we're going to see more polish? So far, the beginning of the introduction to those Squadron 42 features seems to not say that, but we haven't fully integrated. They keep talking about integrating the devs into things and getting them caught up to speed. That tends to take a patch, 2 patches, maybe. So I don't know. Let's start with Croncy, I guess, since we haven't heard as much from you today. I feel like I'm taking over you a little bit. I'm sorry, Croncy, but what do you think it would take to have a really good 6 months, or do you think we're going to see a bit more polish, a bit more pace than what we're used to?
What I expect to see with the people coming over from Squadron is specifically an increase in feature concepting, art design, all that sort of stuff. Like the actual sort of how are these features going to work, and then beginning to make those. The actual implementation, I don't think that that's going to get particularly better unless they have invested in more people into actually, the people responsible for releasing the patches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people who are responsible for polishing and stuff, they're not moving from Squadron yet. They're not going to, probably until release. They've got far too much work to do, and they're going to be doing
polishing
it until
the
then,
other
right?
game. That's a really good point,
Exactly.
right? The guys who,
Exactly.
I mean, to some extent, the feature, at least in my experience with the devs that I've interacted with, the guys who are making the features are the ones who are polishing the bugs, or at least communicating the bugs that do need to be resolved, and talking to other teams that they need to interact with those things. But to some extent, that is very true, right? The Squadron 42 features, the ones that are polishing those are most likely it's the same scenario. The ones who made the features, right? So,
so it's going to depend heavily on just we've talked so much. Like 3.23 is such a it's such an important patch for all of the hype that was created at the end of last year.
They have to live up to something, right?
Yeah, if we see even one major feature from CitizenCon released in 3.23 in a decent state, then I think that sort of that solidifies a lot of their hype over what they can do in the first 6 months. I think
is creatures that for you is now that might be
I just like creatures. I don't think that's the one of the major CitizenCon features. I just think they're cool.
Yes, of course. So if I guess before we move on to Board's feelings, what would that look like for you then? For what would a successful 3.23 look like?
Yeah, so it would be either, and it doesn't have to be multiple of these, just maybe one of these. Either an in-game working nice star map, an in-game working nice engineering, if they do manage to get master modes out with all of the vehicles, or at least the majority of them, or something like that, right? Those are probably the big three. If we get in 3.23 one of those, and it's solid and it works, there'll be bugs, of course, but if it feels like a big feature, then I believe them, essentially.
Fair enough. What about you, Board?
So what was the specific question?
Sorry, yeah. The what would make a successful 3.23? That because they have to build off of the end of the year, and we're all content creators here. We were riding very high until about a month ago. And then I think most people probably started to see concurrent viewers on Twitch start to go like this because we did not ride the high. We need to somehow bring that back. And I don't know personally. I don't know if they will, but if they did, what would it look like?
We need to see one of the as you guys were saying, one of the big features that they sort of promised showed off at the end of the year or at CitizenCon. So something like the elevator, freight elevators, something like engineering or bounty hunting even. I mean, I know that's something they haven't really talked about for a little while, but I do think we're quite close with bounty hunting version 2. That there is even just implementing a load of that new engine stuff, something as simple as going Vulcan's now live would be a lot of people would go, some traditional graphics options in your game so you can scale it a bit better.
TSA
actually
or whatever.
doing something. I mean that's fantastic. It's like if you can have better looking stuff, better performance, sort of scalability is just essential in Star Citizen, and we don't have it.
I think we have to go back to the 3.18 patch was the last time that we had hype to the level of what a CitizenCon would do, and that was a major feature. I don't think we will be able to build off of the CitizenCon hype with any single feature of CitizenCon. I think one of the only things that will... Okay, so to me personally, every feature that you guys mentioned are things that would hype up Star Citizen community, active community members. Like, hell yeah, right? Yeah. But CitizenCon hyped up gamers. 3.18 hyped up the outsiders that have been waiting for something to happen. And I don't think a 3.23 can do that. I don't think the start of the year can do that.
A pyro patch would do that, what you're describing.
The actual, yes, exactly. It's server meshing. It possibly I don't even think replication layer can do that. I think replication layer will hype
Probably not.
up current backers, and I think in order to get that CitizenCon level at least. Now, what you guys say, I totally agree with. Those would be successful 323 patches to me. But if we were
So-
ever to be at the CitizenCon hype, it would have to be a jump point, right?
To get that sort of hype. So I think you need Squadron 42 release. You need the game to be closer to beta and much more playable for the
Yeah.
casual. I say casual for big streamers. If you get some big streamers or big content creators that don't cover Star Citizen playing it and going, "This game is great," and playing it for a few months, then the game moves into sort of a mainstream. And then you have a load of people playing it, right? Because as you correctly identified, I think that a lot of this stuff hypes up the current base, but doesn't get many more people in it. Obviously, it's slowly growing, but you need it to cross over into that mainstream territory where you get someone just going, bam, a big streamer just starts playing it and goes, "Oh, guys, this game's great," or Squadron 42's released. Let's actually check out Star Citizen.
Yeah, like I don't think we see that at the beginning of the year. I think, but as community members, the we can definitely have a successful beginning of the year for sure. Even one of the initiatives from last year that I made a video on fairly recently and really want to see continue is quality of life can make a very successful beginning of the year. Focusing on quality of life can absolutely do that. I don't see anyone here that wouldn't want those things. I tend to get the argument of this is an alpha, by the way. So why are we focusing on balance or quality of life? I mean, I tend to just ignore those statements because I think anybody who plays the game understands why those are important, because you want to enjoy your experience in the game. That's why.
But it's also important to inform future features. You need to have a semblance of balance and understanding of how it's going to be balanced. And you do that by doing it, right? So
exactly. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about, my lack of confidence in their ability to make a good game. When they focus on the balance and show that they understand like what makes a fun experience, then you're like, okay, they get it, right? And to some extent, I'm starting to see that with some of the recoil things with FPS to say, hey, I think we need to have the time to kill a little bit higher. Dying so quickly is not a great experience for players. Obviously, it's had its issues that people have addressed, but those are the things that I want to see. I want to see them throwing noodles at the wall and seeing what sticks. I want to see them. That's what for me, that would make a successful 2024. I want to see them continue to try things and seeing what works. I want them to care about the player experience and what matters, right? And hey, people are engaging with this. People are enjoying this. Let's build upon that, right? And that's, again, like going all the way back to Jumptown. Instead of running Jumptown over and over again, they made the Security Post Korea mission. They made Wake of Disaster. They planned a mining mission very similar to that, but never made it. To go, this is an aspect of the game that works. How do we build upon that? That's when I was like, yeah, I think I am confident in these guys that they might know what they're doing. Those things were all really important. Were they successful missions? That's up to debate. Wake has got its problems. Everything does. But the thought process and the attempt there is what gave me confidence in them, and that's what I want out of at least the first half and definitely the second half, is to know that we're on the right track, and I think that could definitely show that.
Yeah,
but yeah. Do you guys want
to take a caller?
Yeah, this was just about to say. Do we want to get to some callers here? Let me just make sure I have names and things. I think I do. Yes. Our first caller is Sharkbite. Sharkbite, can you hear us?
Hello.
Did it screw up all the cameras?
It did. We just have to do not show non-video participants. That should fix it. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Easy.
Yeah.
How you doing, Sharkbite?
Sharkbite, you there? We put him on hold for a while. Sharkbite.
It's in the toilet, I think, probably.
That's happened. One time I brought a caller in and they were flushing the toilet. Yeah.
Oh.
It was rough.
The worst thing
Solid
is they were
content.
waiting. They knew it was going to happen. They were just
Yeah.
like, put me on the call. I'm so ready.
Yeah. I literally can't move him out of the channel now either, which is mega weird. I can't do
They've hacked the channel.
anything. Mod, somebody help me. There we go. They moved him out. Can you move Mr. Expendable in? Oh, I can move him
that's
now. I can move
amazing.
him now. I don't know what happened. I was just unable to interact with Discord for a moment.
Mods, help me, mods.
Help me, mods, I need help. Mr. Expendable, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay!
So what do you want to chat about, man?
So, I think I'll focus mostly on why I think it's been slow.
Okay.
One thing that I thought about that you guys didn't mention was that more people in Star Citizen, more people working on Star Citizen and not Squadron means way more time for meetings and getting people up to date. And I'm hoping that that's maybe why it's been so quiet. You guys talked about it a little bit, but I expected to see 322.1 by now, or at least in PTU. And although I haven't been keeping up as much as I could, yeah, maybe we should see that sometime soon.
I'm actually I didn't expect to see it, and what I'm actually super surprised about is that we were getting patches in these first couple weeks in the first place. Yes, they were all focused on one thing, but the fact that somebody was doing work in general and wasn't having all these meetings, like you mentioned, is one of the things that surprised me actually quite a bit. Was that we were getting patches at all. I thought that we would probably start to see them around now. Everybody gets to work, back to work. If you've worked at any job, a lot of people like to take the time off before a big holiday as well as use their time off after. So, some people to extend that vacation a little bit longer. Some people like to do that. So that could definitely be a thing that's happening. And yeah. But one of the things that you bring up that makes me worry about maybe next week's ISC SCL is all those meetings might be holding up potential interviews and gathering footage for the new features that are coming in 321.1 or 323 that we would see on an ISC that would be exciting and be interesting to talk about. So you bring up a real good point there as well, right?
My hope would be that these meetings are what we see on ISC. That's what we saw last year with a server meshing, which is kind of a meme now that we didn't get it, but it's like, hey, here's a meeting, really behind the scenes about them talking about bounty hunting or something else. Like, hey, here's a behind the scenes view, and this is what we're planning on doing. It obviously wouldn't hold a lot of video content or here's what we can show you, but I'd be okay with that. That would be kind of cool.
Fair enough. I guess I should pose the similar question to you as we did the other hosts. What would take the slow part of the year and make it better for you?
I would like to see. So this is very vague, and I'm going to go into a little bit about some leaks. I'm going to be as vague as I can be because I know that I don't want to say anything specific.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to talk about leaks on this channel. So I want to make that very, very clear. Okay.
Okay, I was looking for rules and I couldn't find anything, so I'll keep it to what I think. So one thing that we obviously have seen is that people have gone to Star Citizen or come to work at CIG and they go to Squadron 42, right? We know that for a fact. That I'm not going to say any more than that. What I'd like to see is as people are coming back, I'd like to see a better effort. That's the best way I can describe it. If it's not successful, that's fine. If it's
what does a better effort look like?
If they
just more polished.
Here's something we're gonna want to try. Here's anything and everything, really. Okay. Like here's this. You have 1,300 people, and most of them are working on Star Citizen now. I want to see 1,300 people worth of work, or maybe like 12 or 1,100 people worth of work. And I just don't feel like I've seen that in the past couple of years, which is fine because of Squadron, but you can't use Squadron as an excuse as to why we don't have more stuff. And
Is
again, it doesn't
anyone
have to be any.
concerned? Is anyone concerned that, as you were talking about earlier, I think Croncy said about the polishing of Squadron, that obviously a load of people are moving over from Squadron to Star Citizen. Is there going to be a selection of the people that do a lot of polish for the Persistent Universe and other things that we're working on the Persistent Universe, actually some of them moving over to Squadron to help finish it out? And if so, will that potentially damage elements of the game throughout the year?
I feel like it's unlikely, right? Because you're essentially comparing, people that are preparing patches for an MMO live service versus the single player,
Okay.
right? It's theoretically a different skill set. So, yeah, I'm not concerned.
I would agree with that. It doesn't make any sense to me if you have people polishing Squadron. Why would you pull somebody from somebody from the PU and bring them over to Squadron to have them to catch up and then start polishing? It's like,
Okay.
maybe a day, maybe a week. So like for something really specific because they know they can do it, but I can't imagine they'd pull people over like that.
Do you know what I hope happens is that the Squadron people, because the people who moved over to Squadron, we know that it was like the actor feature team and Richard Tyrer and like these honestly big and really important teams. What I hope is that they're coming over from Squadron, and it's not the way that we're communicating it. It's the other way around. They're coming back from Squadron and saying, this is the process in which we're going to be making this game now. You guys have been holding the ship for as long as you could, as well as you could, given the very limited resources you have. We're coming over and telling you how it's going to be done. Yes, you teach us how it's going to be done maybe in the multiplayer environment, but we're going to tell you this is the art style, this is the UI, these are the goals. We focused on the goals over in Squadron. Now we're going to all deliver them together, because honestly, most of the heads of the really important gameplay teams, whether it was ship flight, flight experience, whether it was gunplay, whether it was actor and gameplay, it seemed like they were all focused on Squadron. So now they have to tell the people who have been holding the ship up with, like holding all the plates, as one person, that take some plates from them, but tell them, this is how we're going to plate this dish, and this is how we're going to make the the meal.
I'm 100% agree with you. I think that that better effort statement, a lot of it can simply be like, can we have some Squadron stuff, please? Like I'm starving over here, and I can see Squadron has an entire buffet. Can I have some of that, please?
I don't want Squadron stuff. I want PU stuff. The
Exactly.
Squadron stuff they showed was like a lot of, all right, we have a better interaction system. We have better, a little bit better gunplay. We have a better star map. I want them to come over and start focusing on what we do and why we do it. And I hope that becomes the focus of these teams. Is yes, initially the focus has to be, let's take the stuff we were working on over there and make it work over here. But after that, I'm really curious about the second half of the year, actually, for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't expect to see these 1,200 people worth of work in the first half, but in the second half, you're like, yeah, come on, let's get on with it.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been really hoping to see. One thing that I will say though is for me, the first big news of the year was that we do not have people working on Arena Commander anymore, or not to the same team. It's not the same team, or it's lesser. And that was like, that's not better effort. That's the opposite, right? This is something they've been doing for a while.
Depends on how you look at it.
And it's I mean, yeah, because these guys were great and they did great.
What was your priority?
Well, for me, I want to see gameplay that is easier to do. Arena Commander is that. I was hoping to see more because I had never played Arena Commander until they updated it a couple months ago, and I was like, hell yeah, this is my new daily thing that I'm gonna do. And then they said, oh no, we're moving people out, and I was like, I kind of wanted to see theaters of war. I wanted to see stuff where vehicles, like land vehicles, could come in, and I felt like this was the easiest way to do it. And they said, no, we're gonna move people to the PU, and I'm like, well, if we see Theaters of the War in the PU, that's what I want. But how are we going to see that sooner than we would in Arena Commander? I don't think so.
Well,
I
yeah,
feel like
not anymore.
I feel like, after Mike and I talked about it last week, I was thinking about it a bit more, and I think that the sort of judgment call of we've had these devs making this very popular mechanic or a feature, whatever, and we have the opportunity to bring them into the PU and do like PU focused features, is an important one, especially because the amount of people that I've heard, I do not care at all about Arena Commander. And they're wrong. Arena Commander is great. But the amount of people that I have heard that just don't care about it even remotely, it was probably the right call. It's just a little sad for those of us that enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I try to play Gun Rush at least once a day, every single day. A couple rounds of it. I love that game mode. It's my favorite. It is it's so jank. It's so toxic. It's so fun. I love it. But and I wish that they would build upon that and other things. But Bored, you look like you were going to say something, so go ahead.
No, I absolutely love Gun Rush, but
Yeah.
basically for the same reasons you said. It's a fun, arcadey, dumb mode for me that excites me to play it. And it is jank, it is buggy sometimes, but it's actually pretty good fun.
Yeah, it's great. Like, no matter how much I want to punch my chair by railgunning somebody 4 times in the chest and them not dying, I still have a great time playing it. And for me, Arena Commander wasn't done. They're not done. And they showed that there's something there, and they're not done. And that's the disappointing part. But it really depends on the perspective of how you look at these things. And I can't believe I'm the one here that is really looking at this as like possibly an overall positive, is that the focus has to be on the PU. And if you want to look at them going, yeah, they just ripped apart the Arena Commander team, you got to look at why. And it's because they're 100% focused on the thing that I wish they were focused on for the last 10 years. They're finally focused on it with 100% of their energy. And that's a big deal to me. And that's a positive for me, as negative of an experience as this will be for those devs, for the game mode, and for the people that enjoy it. I think their heart is in the right place, sadly. And I don't know what else to say to that. I think it's just it has to be this way. It sucks.
Yeah. But going back onto my point of better effort, I'd really like to see, I think I've said it before, but I really want to see more. I guess going back, one thing that I wanted to point out was I just want to see more stuff in the PU, like physical, like here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing. And when I say stuff, I don't mean like gear or items. I mean like missions. Actually, that's one thing that I'd love to see more is missions, because it's like, for me, I don't really like the FPS. I like playing the arcade stuff, but for me, FPS is like, if I want to go play FPS, I'll go play an FPS game. But I like trading. I like missions like that. I like salvage. I'm more of an industrial player, and we don't really have industrial missions, including cargo running. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, with cargo elevators, we're looking at doing cargo missions. And I'm like, please, like even some basic cargo missions, like have some more things. One thing I don't think we'll get this year, but I feel like because it's coming from Squadron, we'll see stuff about it, because that's what Squadron is more missions with people. Like, I know that's vague, and there's probably some special term for it, but like, I want to go talk to somebody, and he can be like, hey, listen, we got this cool thing going on, and you should join us. And then you go and you do it, and then so on and so forth. And I know that has been abandoned to a certain extent, but I'm hoping we can see more of that, even if it doesn't come to the game this year. But if it does, obviously I'm expecting second half of the year. So, I've been playing a lot of Bethesda games. I want to see some Bethesda game stuff, like obviously not the bugs, but everything else. Let me go do a multi-part mission. Let me go do a heist, or maybe, well, we already have heists in the game, but to a certain extent. But let me go do this.
Citizen Con
Let me go
heist,
do
you
that.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I remember those missions from CitizenCon like a couple years back. There was one where you had to transport some people and then you had to sneak into a building, and it's like, what happened to that? Like, all that stuff could be put in the game. Like, could we see that or something like that? I mean, I would love to see more missions that really are steeped in lore and information and people. Hell, if the PU can make me cry, that's a huge plus.
Okay.
I think the problem with having missions right now in Star Citizen that are, either heavy lore focused or heavy story focused or anything like that, is because we only have still one system, you're incredibly limited. There's also, probably not as many factions that we would like to see for that sort of stuff, right? So I do think the mission team over the course of probably the last 2 years have been showing us a lot of the things that they have been concepting. And we've been getting a little bit of a taste of the way that they've been building missions. Like they've been putting missions into ways that they can be easily replicated with different tasks. For example, the pyro missions where you destroy the big gas, whatever you call it, gas cans. Can't think of the name.
Mhm.
They are just using the same tech as the drug missions, the destroy drug missions. So they've been doing a lot more of that stuff so that they can bring in more missions that feel different, but in the back end,
Are similar, yeah.
they're similar. So I'm optimistic that we're still going to get a solid amount of missions this year that'll be fun, but I don't think we're going to get anything really in depth for still years to come. We're going to have at least a couple of systems and a better reputation system.
My argument is always we always need server meshing to know what the boundaries of the game can provide, how many players per server, how many NPCs actually working before they can actually develop anything. But expendable, there's a few other colors on the line, so let's try to make this the last.
Okay, I'll go ahead and wrap up. I'm just gonna say that big thing, better effort from bigger teams. I'm gonna just say thank you guys, SaltEMike. You're the best. SaltEMike and Bored, you guys are the best news creators
Get
for
wrecked,
me.
Croncy.
I don't watch Croncy stuff yet, but I'll give it a try. Salty.
Croncy does more news
technically
stuff
I
than
do.
I
This
do.
is his stuff too, right? This is his
True.
stuff too. So I technically watch his stuff.
Yeah.
But you guys are great. Better effort for the new year, hopefully. And that'll be it for me. I think that this is my second time. First time was for CitizenCon last year, and I didn't realize until you brought it over to YouTube that it fit pretty well into my schedule. So I'll hopefully be doing this more often.
Hell yeah, nice. Well, we look forward to having you. So have a good one,
All right.
Expendable.
Yeah.
Thank you for your call, and
Nice to
we'll
talk
catch
to
you
you,
soon,
mate.
hopefully.
Yeah, cheers.
All right.
Later. All right,
We'll ban him. Ban him. Get it out of here. Get him out of here.
We'll try to get Sharkbite in here. Hopefully his mic is working okay now. Shark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I was here the whole time. I use Steel Series for my mix, and it's been glitching out with my drivers, so it cut my mic.
Don't buy Steel Series. Yeah.
The keyboard's great.
That was amazing.
No, they just need to work on their stuff.
All right.
Just wanted to say hi to you guys. It's been a while since I've been on. I tried to get on during CitizenCon, and it was super busy. And then,
that was insane.
The last couple times I tried to get on, it's just been either my schedule or you guys have only gone through a couple callers or whatever. But I'm glad to be on.
Yep.
I really like the new format. It's great. Croncy, dude, yesterday you're announcing like you had to fill so much dead time.
See, we brought him in to make Croncy feel better after the last caller. That's why we brought Sharks
in. Loved watching that. That was a great race. Can't wait to see the results. That'll be fun. Bored, hope your knife's still working well. How's it been, holding up?
I've been oiling it with mineral oil.
Okay, tell me about this. What's this
we
all
need
about?
to know this.
Go ahead.
Sharks, he smithed me a knife.
Yo, that's crazy. That's awesome. Like a chef's knife?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, chef's
That's
knife.
so sick.
Exactly.
Oh, that's super cool. Nice. You're a blacksmith,
Steel
Sharks?
series is... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I've been forging for 13, 14 years now, teaching for 3 or 4.
Sick.
And back in school now, so I don't have as much time, but really enjoy doing it. Yeah, if you guys ever want any kind of cooking ware or decorations or whatever, hit me up.
Oh, I want more.
Hey, works for me.
Sharks, your mic is glitching out for sure. You sound like you're very, very far away from it, just so you know.
So I turned off Steel Series because it muted me again. Let me open it back up.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm afraid of what's about to happen. I can hear myself.
I can hear twice. Oh, me.
What's that?
Let's see now.
Can we? Okay.
Okay, testing.
We're good.
Seems good.
Okay, cool. So as far as the slow start stuff, I'd rather than make a slow start and get their planning and everything in order than like make announcements they aren't able to stick to. And it seems relatively stable right now. I'm back in school now, so I haven't been able to test as much. It's like as soon as I hit Evocati, then not able to get on at all anymore. But that's the way things work. For me, a successful first half of the year would be the star map engineering or the hangar elevators. Any one of those 3 would be awesome.
I think the hangar elevators is going to be the big one. I think that's the one that's going to make it. It looks the most polished from everything they showed. And I think it's going to be the most impactful of the features that they showed at CitizenCon that are likely going to make it in, unless I'm missing something really major. I mean, it changes.
I think you're right,
everything.
especially like the economy team, which once again is still a relatively new team. The fact that they're looking at freight elevators, or they were looking at freight elevators in November and December for economy purposes, and everything they've been doing so far has been what is happening to the game right now.
Yeah.
I think that's a good tell that it's probably going to be the feature.
And generally, that seems like it would be the last thing that you would do, right? Like the feature has to be in place somewhat for you to be like, yeah, so it'll cost this much to do this. It'll be, take this much time to do that. And yeah, it seems like the polish is the economy of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
As far as there's an exploit that they need to get on top of that a lot of people don't know about. And it's not massive, but if you take an Adagio mission, any of the basic salvage missions, then you aren't trespassing in any area that Adagio holds, including any of the illegal missions.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you just have to take a random one. It's been that way since the first
doesn't matter
mission.
what it is.
And you could just go freely and pirate and do whatever you want to do. It's there's a lot of permissions issues with it, and the law system is super, super complicated. It seems simple, but there's so many of these like crazy edge cases, and they just work through them gradually over time. But we definitely have to suffer through that working for sure.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, my mic I think is back.
It's not.
It dropped again. No, it's not.
No,
Awesome.
It hasn't been the whole time. But just go ahead. I'm working with you as best I can.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll try and get it. I just updated it.
You're all good.
As far as Arena Commander, the last time I checked, the turrets were not usable. Let me turn my gain up. Is that better?
Nothing's better, but just keep going. You will never be better. You are the opposite of the Steel Series shill. So just keep going. We got you, bro.
Okay. The turrets aren't really usable in the secondary seats as far as Arena Commander is concerned. The glazing makes it impossible to see your targets. And then also, I think they should have an option for the pilot to confirm if someone wants to join their ship.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I think last week crafting, or you mentioned it at least. I think that any ship with like a 3D printer like the Carrack that has a manufacturing station should be able to eat the construction material blocks or the materials in future.
Should be able to put them in.
So you can like feed them in and then be able to print out stuff, weapons, ammo, etc.
That would be sick.
Yeah, and then I think the 600i needs one when they update it eventually.
Wait, why does the 600i owners think that ship is supposed to do literally everything? What is with 600i owners?
It's an explorer ship. It's like the Carrack Light. It doesn't have as much room as the Carrack, but it's the 600i. It should do everything.
It should. Yeah.
Look,
it should
you've got to.
dogfight.
There's
It should do it
got to
all.
be a nerf to it. It's got a lounge,
No.
Mike.
I don't want to upset any 600i enjoyers. I'm sure that ship will do everything. That they're a powerful crowd.
I don't care.
Yeah,
The 600i should be the one of the pinnacle platforms for personal transport, and that's really all it should be. That's how I look at that.
That should be the touring one, but the Explorer should have a little more utility.
I think anybody asking for Explorers to do anything, I think people who want their Explorer ships to be good should be spending their energy telling CIG to make exploration. Yeah. That's probably the better place to spend your energy personally, but I get where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong. The Carrack has the 3D printer, and if the Carrack has it, so should the 600i. I get it. So I'm not trying to make you feel bad about that. So I know that's how it came off.
No, I'm an Origin fanboy. No one can make me.
I just hate the 600i.
Oh, then you shouldn't feel bad for that then.
You should definitely feel bad for that.
I also love Drake.
Origin, listen, Origin fanboy, Mike doesn't work. Classic Star Citizen player.
It's okay. Real quick on the time to kill, I think that they should have it so that every body part has like a maximum amount of health that can be removed. You shouldn't be able to die from arm or leg shots. But I do think that should, once it's injured and hasn't been healed, then it should, you should only be able to go up to a certain percent like they kind of have it now.
Okay. Well, here's the deal, Shark. Your mic is gradually getting worse over time.
Oh, excellent.
So if you don't mind, I would say wrap it up here, and we'll go to the next caller. And I really, really apologize because
no worries.
I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the conversation. Nope. You gotta go now, Shark. You gotta go now, Shark. You gotta go. I hear myself.
Okay.
Bye. Sorry, Shark.
It was lovely to talk to you.
He was lovely. He was really lovely. Honestly, I feel really bad, but how I could not go any further with that. It's going to be really hard for them to hear it. I did the best I could with that one, Shark. I'm so sorry. We got one final caller. We'll take them for about 5 minutes, and then we'll call it. And they are Critical Chai. That's how you say that. The T, right? Chai T?
Chai. Yeah.
Okay, Critical Chai. Can you hear us?
Yeah, like chai tea. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. First time caller, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yes. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I had to mute the
understand.
website. Okay. But hi everybody.
Hello. We know you want to talk about the future of 2024, right?
Yeah. The thing I noticed was I think we're going to get a ton of content this year, because if you think about the number of years you've been following Star Citizen, they've always talked about, hey, we made this tool and that tool, and they kept showing tool
that
for as long as I know.
That's going to speed up the process, right? They always sold you on that.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, you're not really interested in the tool ISC about the tools, but this tool is going to make everything better. And then it never really felt like it did, right? So,
all right. I think what it is
they were change?
Yeah, I think the whole point was they were making the tools for all these guys when they finished with Squadron 42 to come over. They have the tools to start adding all the content we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we should see tons and tons of content being built using all these tools they've been working on for all these years.
What do you think that'll look like? What is tons and tons of content in your opinion?
Well, currently I think I think they'll add a lot more bunkers, a lot more settlements, try to expand all that out. I know they keep talking about the bunkers are supposed to be like the space stations where they can add more and more rooms and modules and really extend it out. But, we've only seen the same 3 tiles for bunkers. So I'm hoping that they have some sitting in the background that they can, start expanding it out. But we'll see if that happens. But I think they will at least add more bunkers and settlements and other locations. And
just sort of quickly on that, and this is for Bored and Croncy as well. My personal feelings are what we have in the game currently is actually we got a lot. There's a decent amount of stuff there, but there's not a lot of stuff to do with it. My hope would be that instead of making more, make what we have more interesting. And that's my hope of, hey, Squadron 42 people working on this really, really polished game, taking like all the unpolish and polishing. But that would be more to me as well, right? So
yeah,
why not both?
Well,
oh, that would be great.
Yeah,
yeah,
both definitely would be.
Why not
great.
Arena Commander and the PU board? That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they kind of made stuff a little more in depth, because right now all the mission seems a little shallow. Like you can knock them out in a couple of minutes. You really can't sink your teeth into any of the missions right now.
I wonder if missions feel shallow still just because AI is super shallow as well, right?
It's also an issue with reputation and economy. Like if you have a
no
proper
major
economy,
goals.
Yeah.
But,
when that gets added.
Yeah, and then feel free to continue. I have to jump out for literally 10 seconds, so I'll be off camera for just a few seconds here. I'll be right back, okay? But continue on with what you think would be good for the new year. Right back, guys.
Critical?
Yep. Yes. Sorry about that. But I got tongue-tied for a second. But yeah, I think if they extend out and add more depth to stuff, like extend out the size of the bunkers and add a little bit more to the settlements, or because I think some of the heists and other things add a little more depth and are a little more interesting, where you had to play with the cooling systems and hack and try to hold on to the terminals and if they add that to the
Sorry, continue.
No, I was going to say that if there was more room to do it in, because right now it's such a tiny tile set to do all of that, and it just doesn't, it's a little frustrating.
So yeah, it kind of goes back to a bit what we were talking about with was it Sharkbite or the caller before? Someone who called us. The big thing in that aspect is that the missions that we have been getting more recently have been more detailed. They have had more aspects to them. My example would be any of the Reclaimer missions, especially the investigation Reclaimer missions, even the data heist, the money for nothing mission. So those aspects are coming into it, and I honestly kind of expect, and it's one of the things I'm hoping for this year, is that with the distribution centers, is that we do get those styles of missions in those style of locations, because then it does feel really full, and it makes me want to grind those over and over and over again right now.
Yeah.
I think even if you look at the stuff that we got with Pyro, there was a few, there was a little bit more there. You could even see that there was little power things that you might be able to interact with at some point, even though you couldn't yet. There was, again, that what I keep talking about, intention, that you could kind of see that the intention starting to be there a little bit more. There were missions that were unique to there, but that could totally be happening in Stanton as well. There's no reason why some of those couldn't. So yeah, I think a big point that go ahead, Board.
Let's go to delivery.
I had to go. I heard just to be clear, I heard a noise and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was like, I got to make sure I'm not being broken into or something. But the thing that I was listening, I could hear the caller. I think you were talking about the underground bunkers always being the same, and just kind of, it'd be nice to have.
Yeah, it's
more.
3-4 tiles.
Yeah, it's all, and the layout almost instantly, even though you went to a different one. So it's it would be nice to just have variety there as well, right? And I think that's something that they're really trying to focus on with the new stuff. The new stuff is so different with the settlements. Every location is entirely different from one another, even though they're using a lot of the same tile sets, right? So yeah, what'd you get, Board?
But
it's just some food turned up.
Oh, nice. So, but yeah, continue on.
I think the Pyro settlements were kind of fun to, try to do the missions there, because the area is so spread out that it takes a little bit more thought and tactics to move around and explore and, get to all the objectives.
Okay.
So I think if they can bring a lot more of that to Stanton, that would be very cool.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think Critical. I think this is probably around the time where we would call it. Do you have any final thoughts on the start of the year, where you think the year is going to go? And again, I just appreciate the call, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It was great talking to all of you.
Yep.
And I think even though it seems slow, I know I've worked in big teams. It takes a little bit of time to get everybody up to speed, and they all have to learn how to use these tools.
Yep.
So I think, the first quarter will be a little slow, but then it'll just speed up and speed up and speed up. And once they hit their groove, then everything will, whatever they want to do will start getting added in. So we'll see, what they can invent using the tools they got.
Fingers crossed, man.
I'm a little excited to see what they do.
I think everybody's got a bit of anticipation and excitement for what this new year is going to be. But all right, Critical, we'll let you go and we'll get the show wrapped up. So
all right, take care,
thank you so much for calling in, man.
Cheers,
appreciate you.
Nice to meet you, mate.
All right, that was our last caller, and I guess we would go to final thoughts from you guys, especially Bored. What do you think? What do you think? Are you disappointed with the start of the year, I guess? And do you think you're going to feel the opposite midway and end of the year through? It's just this is a different year than we've ever had. If anything, it might not be the slowest, it might not be the worst, might not be the best, but it feels like it's going to be different, right?
See, yeah, I'm a little disappointed. What it is it feels like almost when they were doing the run up to CitizenCon, where they go, we've got a feast for you, but we're going to starve you. We're going to starve you for a month or two.
Yeah.
Oh, great. My birthday cake's going to taste delicious, but I want it now.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. It's because of the lack of the Lunar Festival being effectively in February. It's because we don't have a proper point patch. It's because we have a fully functional patch that doesn't need much patching comparatively to other patches we've had at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. I'm a little disappointed just because I'm always going to want more. Even if Squadron 42 was released, even if we had Star Citizen version 1, I'm always going to want more.
Of course. You're always going to want a little balance. You're always going to, like, every game you play nowadays is a live service. Even single player story games get patches and are improved. Right? Yeah, it's awful, but it is. You're always going to be left wanting improvements and wanting more. I think this is a little bit different. We just want it, like, to some extent, right? In a lot of ways, for especially the people that have been around for a while. But there's no doubt that you'll always want more. But there at some point, I think that there's going to be a point where you're like, yeah, I'm pretty happy, and I'm looking forward to that day, And I think that hopefully,
me too. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think hopefully we see something like the start of that this year. I would love to see the start of that because I feel like we haven't just yet. CitizenCon makes me think that they want to do that, and I hope this year shows that they are trying to do that.
Already teasing CitizenCon.
Xylo tweeting out like yesterday or whatever. What was it? It was, can't wait for you all to see what we're already cooking up. Is it too early to ask you plans to go?
Yeah,
so he's excited.
The only thing I'm assuming it's going to be in the UK because that's the rotation. If they don't, I really want them to put Montreal in the rotation and put it this year, but we'll see. So it probably is the UK, but I don't know what they're planning. How do you plan now? What's the theme? They knew the theme would be pyro. Like, what would the theme even be? They might know. They might know something. It's going to be pyro again, guys. The theme's going to be pyro, right? I don't know. So it's really, that was a weird tweet for me, but yeah. I don't know. Croncy, what do you think?
I like Star Citizen.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Me too.
It's pretty sick. But
I don't know.
But
like,
I'm playing Valheim tomorrow.
I'm playing Eve when we finish the podcast.
Yep.
I don't know. It's as I sort of mentioned, the whole thing of it just being a quiet start to the year is just it's because it's a juxtaposition to the end of last year, right? Yep. So it's just we're in a weird moment where there's not much incentive for players to like grind in the live patch right now. So it feels a little bit boring, but it's also the start of the year. The only way that they could really improve it is by doing what they're doing and making patches. So
yeah.
I really want to hear what happens with the roadmap roundup and then sort of go from there.
Yep. I'm very much looking forward to the This Week in Star Citizen this coming week, because this, again, is hopefully the end of the beginning of the year drought, and we start being able to just have conversations about what is coming this year, because this whole beginning of the year is where they change all the plans that they said they were going to do last year. So I just want to know where we're going and what we're doing. That's where I'm at.
Yep.
At least for the first month or so, I just want to know where do I look? What direction am I going in? What should I be interested in? What should I be looking at? What's coming? And we'll see. And hopefully it's a lot of the things that they said that they were working on last year. And hopefully it's not a lot of, crazy direction changes that we've seen in years past. But with that, Bored, you're a legend. You will always be an inspiration to me, and I will always consider you a friend. We've been through a lot over the years, ups and downs and all sorts of things, and I'll always appreciate
if I'm
you.
an inspiration, please don't suddenly become a murderer or something and go, Bored with my inspiration.
Okay, yeah, I promise I won't blame that on you. I'll blame that on the YouTube comments. That'll be where I blame that one on. Because if there's anything that's going to make me go insane, it'll be the YouTube comments. But and then as always, Croncy, taking the podcast to the next level. So thank you guys, and thank you to everybody who's watching. I think possibly by the end of this podcast we'll probably be reaching the goals that we were trying to achieve, that we talked to you guys about, because we put the podcast on a new channel and monetization and all that jazz. So thank you for all the support, everybody. You guys are awesome. And for the guys watching in Twitch chat, the usual, if you didn't catch the whole show, it'll be up on YouTube in just a little bit. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch is there as well, so you can follow Bored, Croncy. All the links will be down below in the description for these guys there, so make sure you check out everybody. And I think this is where we do our cringe outro like we always do, Bored. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but you can't forget to answer the call. It's very, very important. Don't forget. Yeah.
That is cringe. You're right.
Yep.